I am not a nutritionist nor a certified practitioner. Please be responsible and investigate. Having said this, I'm going to share a guide with some tips for a transition into a vegan diet. It is based on suggestions from other sources, nutritionists, and guides stated in the description of the video, and my personal experience. At first, it is proper to clarify that veganism is not a diet or a lifestyle. It is philosophy, love for knowledge, logic, ethics, and love. But this video is a guide to make a transition into a vegan diet, regardless of the reasons that motivate you. There are many guides and videos about the subject, but there are increasingly more ex-vegan spokesmen that had poor health practices or didn't get informed correctly, and they blame veganism for everything, spreading bad advice and confusing others. My transition may not be the best example, because before being vegan, I was a vegetarian for 10 years, and the last years I consumed very little dairy. Therefore, I do my best adding suggestions that exceed my experience. I've been vegan 7 years. I'm stubborn, self-absorbed, egoistic, and vain. Maybe everything in the blacklist, except weak or sickly. I'm going to share some points I believe may help to simplify the matter. 1. Inform yourself. Research is the starting point. Read, search for videos, collect information, and process it. There is a lot of false information circulating online. Remember that veganism is not a trend or novelty. Remember that strong, healthy, and intelligent vegan individuals have existed thousands of years ago. Some references may be found in the video description. 2. Define your reason. Be it improving your health, global or personal economy, saving the planet, ethics, or all of the above. This is of utmost importance. It will be what motivates you from now on. Doing it to try, as an experiment, for some days or a month, following a trend, or out of curiosity, is not a good reason. It usually lacks medium and long-term programming. And for some, in the short term, there will be digestive setbacks that are eventually overcome. 3. Don't try to become a yogi in one day. We are habitual animals. Leaving an addiction or bad habit suddenly can kill us. We must make a transition. By moving small rocks, we will eventually move the mountain. To avoid becoming one of those ex-vegans that blame their poor health to veganism, go through a transition at your own pace. Don't go for intensive restrictions or try to be a nutritional purist. Many of the ex-vegan spokesmen have a history of poor digestion, SIBO, candida. They lack ethical basis, and they added intense restrictions to their diets. Extended fasting, raw veganism, caloric restriction, frequent detoxifications, and harsh exercise routines. My suggestion, as well as that of several nutritionists and activists, is to leave processed foods, GMOs, sugar, cooking oils, and imported foods, as well as products from transnationals, big corporations, and of those who test on animals. But if you try to do all these things at the same time, the restriction can result in failure and decline of your health. The goal is the transition to vegan food. Do not try to become a yogi overnight. Do not add restrictions, extended fasts, or frequent detoxifications to the transition. You can try them eventually, but not at the same time. Before removing anything, replace it. Do not remove anything from your diet before replacing it. Introduce new alternatives to your diet before removing anything from your plate. Do it gradually. For example, add a portion of legumes and gradually reduce animals or animal-derived products until they are removed from the plate. You will find that several dishes are basically vegan or can be veganized. Find out about food and recipes in your area. You can write down a recipe book. 5. Set a plan or schedule. Some say that it is totally possible to make a transition in less than 30 days. In my opinion, it depends on the individual and situation. If he or she is vegetarian, if eating out is a usual thing, or eating the food that parents provide. After following the aforementioned points, set goals. Here goes an example. Week 1. Investigate about recipes, options, and dishes in your area and start testing them by adding them to your plate without replacing anything. Week 2. Stop eating mammals. The first day of the week, begin to reduce the dose by replacing it with the new options until the end of the week when the replacement has been completed. Week 3. Stop eating birds and fish. Week 4. Stop eating eggs and honey. Week 5. Stop eating dairy. Since dairy is quite addictive, I'd try to reduce it little by little throughout the whole process. 6. Be self-indulgent. While you are in the transition and the first weeks after, setbacks are very possible. Don't be hard on yourself. Move forward little by little. Social and cultural pressure and habits can be harsh, so be forgiving. But remember your motivation to reach the final goal. Consume enough calories. Possibly, the most frequent mistake of new vegans is not consuming enough calories. Plant-based foods are not as calorically dense as animals and animal-derived poisons. Portions should be more abundant than before. You can consider some calorically dense sources, such as legumes, avocado, coconut, nutritional yeast, and nuts. Do not expect a sudden health improvement. Change usually involves friction. Before receiving the health benefits that a plant-based diet can provide, expect the struggle of any transition. The struggle can be digestive or volitional. Several have problems assimilating legumes and others at first, just as a baby when passing from breast milk to solid foods. When you balance your diet properly and get used to finding the best foods for you, the struggle will disappear. And keep in mind that veganism is not the holy grail nor a synonym for health. A vegan who consumes cookies and potato chips can have similar diseases as a carnist. Tips. Do not think of the transition as a steep uphill of restrictions. Convince yourself it is a journey, a discovery experience. Finding out and trying new foods and recipes can be very interesting. If you go to a doctor or nutritionist, be sure that he or she is informed about a plant-based diet. Keep in mind that medical universities in several places do not have proper nutrition teachings, and many doctors subscribe to outdated paradigms. You will not lack protein, iron, calcium, zinc, or omega-3s. As long as your diet is balanced and reasonable, you do not require supplements. The only suggested supplement for vegans and non-vegans is vitamin B12. It is produced by microbes, so you can find a vegan option. We require little of it, depending on your location, the farmland, pesticides, and the treatment of drinking water. Vitamin D may be suggested for vegans and non-vegans if you live in the Earth poles or sunlight does not reach you. Look for replacements or vegan versions that recipes you like have or may have. Find meat and dairy simulations or replacements. Foods that resemble flavor and textures with soy, lentils, beans, etc. are a very good option for the transition. They are not required at all, but if they exist in your area, they will ease the process a lot. In the same way, vegetable milk, like oat, soy, or almond milk, potato or soy, and other vegetable cheeses can also be efficient allies. Do not neglect legumes. They are a very good source of protein and minerals. They are an efficient source of protein for athletes. Do not be influenced by bad advice or biased publications. Anti-nutrients like lectins are eliminated or diminished by proper soaking and cooking. If you go to non-vegan restaurants, ask in detail about every meal. Do not stick to meatless or vegan. Many do not know what veganism implies. Look for vegan friends. Socializing will ease the transition. Social networks are useful for this. Carry a vegan snack with you when you are out for prolonged periods. Finally, learn to cook. In any scenario, it's a lot better to carry your own food around than eating outside. It is an investment in your health.